What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Generation Sports. I know we skipped an episode, but it was due to the snow. If you are in the Northeast, you know the pain that we've been going through. It's been snowing like every other day. But we're back again with episode 6. Thanks for joining with us. And we're going to start this episode talking about football with Take It to the House. So last episode, as everyone knows, was supposed to be Super Bowl Sunday. So we'll recap quickly on the Super Bowl. What's everyone's thoughts on that painful game?
Well, I guess Tom Brady's the GOAT.
No, I refuse. I refuse.
Listen, I don't like the man either, but he's putting up. How many rings does he have now?
I don't care.
I think that was number 7.
Yeah, I believe it was 7.
And he's been to the Super Bowl 10 times. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue against that.
I can argue, and I'll argue.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, when they videotaped the Rams in the Super Bowl, okay, so they cheated.
Oh, yeah,
the Tuck rule. Oh, no, wait, before that, the Tuck rule. They cheated. Okay, the videotaping of the Rams practice, so they knew what play they were running when they had this personnel in there. They cheated. When the Jets caught them, they cheated. Then Deflategate, they cheated. And then in the Super Bowl, their defense played outstanding. Oh, yeah. Okay, so, I mean, but some of them calls, oh, my goodness. Like,
there were a few really bad calls.
Yeah, really brutal. I mean, you know, when you got... And when it's Tom Brady and the refs, then I don't consider him the GOAT.
You're right.
I appreciate the backup because I didn't have too many facts off the top of my head. I just don't like Tom Brady, but some of the stats are ridiculous. I know there's a lot of question marks around, like you were saying, the cheating scandals. But I saw some stat where Tom Brady has a better chance of making it to the Super Bowl than Steph Curry has of making a three-pointer.
Yeah.
Which is just insane to think of the stat.
That really is.
That's crazy.
I don't know. For me, it's not really whether Tom Brady is the GOAT or not. It was just not a great game. Everyone always looks forward to the Super Bowl, and it didn't take long for it to get ugly. And I don't know if it was just a mindset or, just that home environment for Tampa or
very true.
Just what it was really. But, Tampa had the energy. Their defense was sparking their energy as a whole team. And the offense was playing the way they've been playing all year once they picked up steam. And the Chiefs just couldn't get any type of momentum. Mahomes was running for his life the whole game. Just no type of protection for him. And that really hurt them trying to get anything going. And, they're such a high-powered offense, but if they can't get something started, if they don't have that rhythm and that momentum, you really can't do anything. So it wasn't pretty, but it's interesting to see how this all panned out.
Well, one of the biggest things was that Kansas City's best offensive lineman was injured. So they had a, makeshift. They had to put another lineman in there. And, I mean, you can tell. You can tell. I mean, absolutely. Some of them throws that Mahomes made, I mean, nobody in the league could make them throws. Yeah. And some of them got to the receivers, but they couldn't catch them.
Well, Kelsey missed a wide open pass, something you never see him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Was that's pretty big.
One of the photos. Sorry to cut you off there. One of the photos was ridiculous because Mahomes was parallel to the ground, and still threw the ball 30 yards.
Yeah,
and it was a great pass, by the way. The receiver just dropped it.
Yeah, he's something.
He's a magician.
Like,
he really is.
But yeah, it was just really bad. Like that, there was a visible difference there in that O-line, and they just had no type of momentum that whole game, and it really hurt them. And they, even if they were getting stops, and even if the refs were making the right calls, the Tampa defense was just like collapsing
It
all
was-
over Mahomes.
It was smothering.
Yeah.
But you know that I had said in one of the earlier episodes, you know, when a team gets on a roll and they start winning game after game after game at the right time, that tends to get them, you know, in that game and makes them the favorites, even though the odds say that they're not the favorites, because their defense was trending. Their defense more than their offense. I mean, their defense was turned the whole season around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing about the Super Bowl was the NFL's commercial. So they were trying to defend, you know, that they had their back for social justice and everything like that. And the one thing missing was this guy. So I don't know how you can claim social justice and everything like that, and this man, Kaepernick, not in the commercial, not mentioned, not anything. So I think that was a huge miss on the NFL.
Big time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Colin Kaepernick is like the biggest name in football when it comes to social justice by far. And we know what he's been through, and he still hasn't gotten justice from the NFL, and he never will. But this could have been a way, an outlet for the NFL to show some respect for him, even if, you know, he doesn't get another job as a quarterback, just at least showing that they see him and they understand him, but it seems like they just didn't care to even try.
I just feel there was a bigger uproar for him kneeling down than the people going into the Capitol. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, the NFL and so many other people were screaming and shouting over him kneeling and disrespecting the flag, which that wasn't the reason why he knelt. And if they knew the story and if they did their background check, they would have known that at first he was sitting down, and then he was told by a vet that he would be better off kneeling down. So he was told by a vet to kneel down, and yet they still found that to be wrong.
Well, I find it funny that this is the first time in history that kneeling is a sign of disrespect.
Right.
In any other situation,
Yeah.
kneeling down is a sign of respect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
All right, now keeping with the quarterback theme here, you know, Brady, Mahomes, Kaepernick. There's been some quarterbacks on the move of late.
Lots of
So, you know, we'll do a quick summary and then everyone let me know their thoughts. So, Stafford to the Rams.
Yeah.
Then we got Wentz going to the Colts for two totally different packages.
Yeah, completely.
And then what do the difference between those two packages mean for Watson's value? So we'll start with the Rams fan.
Okay. I'm extremely happy to get Stafford. Some people think we overpaid, but if you look at the Rams since the new ownership, they haven't had many first-round picks, and yet built a strong playoff team, a team that actually went to the Super Bowl. I think a lot of times, if you have the right personnel, then first-round picks could be overrated. You just got to know how to draft late in the round, because most of the teams, when they build their teams and the teams that get to the Super Bowl, are built with players that they got in later rounds and not in the first round. With Stafford, we get a guy that he's lights out, top 10 quarterback in the league.
Strong arm.
Yeah. And he wanted to go to a playoff team, a team that he had a chance to win a championship with. Any team except for New England, which we were happy about that.
Oh, yeah.
But the Rams might have gave up a lot, but if it gets them to the Super Bowl and they win a chip, then they did the right move.
Yeah, I think one thing you do have to credit the Rams for the past couple of years is they've been willing to take risks to make their team better. And in pretty much any sport, there's always a lot of teams that aren't willing to take those type of risks. And, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But, as you were saying, the the Rams haven't had first-round picks consistently the last couple of years. But they've been willing to sacrifice those picks and get proven guys, and this is just another example of that. Jared Goff has some potential, and he showed some flashes of being a really good quarterback, but I think Stafford is a clear upgrade, and, they had to give up a lot for it, but, if it's going to lead to more winning, then I think it's definitely a risk worth going for.
I think the big winner here are the Rams receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, to get an arm like Stafford there, who can throw the deep ball, who can zip it in there, who has more toughness, I guess, than some of the other quarterbacks they've had. I just think if he can get into that system and get comfortable with those receivers, especially Kupp, I mean, I think he's going to have a great season. He's been playing with very bad teams and still putting up numbers. So to be on a contender with great talent around him, I think Stafford is gonna prove the Rams right in giving up what they did for him.
Yeah, I think, obviously that's a big move for the Rams, like everyone's saying. And then Wentz going to the Colts, I mean, he hasn't shown that consistency, I feel like, because he's been injured. Mm-hmm. But, he did have those flashes pre-injury.
Yes.
So that could be, it seems like a low-risk, high-reward situation potentially, because they didn't give up nearly as much.
Oh, yeah. Not much at all.
So I don't see the harm in that, that move there for them. And then what's the deal with Watson? Is he going to be on the move? And if so, where does he land on the return for the Texans?
Well, let me start with the Wentz. I think it's a steal for Indianapolis, and I'm going to tell you why. One, he goes to a team with a way better offensive line, and two, he gets out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, for all you Philly fans out there, you guys are probably the worst fans in all of sports. Yeah, I said it. It's crazy.
Definitely the most unforgiving.
Yeah, like when the football game that they're throwing snowballs. I mean, come on, man. But
I mean, they did boo Santa Claus.
They booed Santa. Who booed Santa, man?
They are the type to cheer injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think him getting into a team and getting a fresh start, I think that's that's going to pay dividends for him. In regards to Watson, I mean, Houston does not want to get rid of Watson. That's basically their lone star, left. And if they were to get rid of him, they would have to give up. Someone will have to give up the farm.
But kudos, I love the Lone Star for the Lone Star State. Kudos. Wanted to make sure no one missed that one.
Yeah. But he if the Rams gave up that much for Stafford, and Watson being he's 25, and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I mean, how much more would they give up for Watson?
Yeah, Watson threw for the most yards last year without any real weapons on that offense.
After losing DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see a team giving up a ton for him. He's worth it. It all depends on if Houston is willing to actually move him. I mean, they hold the cards right now. I know he requested a trade and pretty much demanded a trade out of there, but who knows? Maybe they can make a couple moves this offseason to kind of appease him and keep him there, at least give them another chance to retain him.
To prove that they're willing to put in that work and that improvement.
Yeah.
All right, talking about offseason moves in the NFL, as the offseason just started, now we'll transition over to baseball, which the offseason is wrapping up and we're going into spring training. So with that said, who are the big winners and losers of the offseason so far in baseball?
I'll start it out. My biggest winner this offseason is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, on paper, they might not have made the most moves, but they're reigning World Series champions, and they just added the reigning Cy Young in the National League and Trevor Bauer. I just think that jump is like it's something that they didn't even necessarily need, but it's a great thing to have. And they were going to be competing for a World Series without Trevor Bauer, and adding a talent like that, if he can stay consistent on the mound and have another top tier pitching performance this upcoming season, that's just icing on the cake. That team is still loaded at the plate. They have insane depth. The pitching is somehow even better.
Dustin May will probably not make the rotation.
Yeah, you have guys. You have Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw, and you add Trevor Bauer to that. David Price returning after sitting out last season due to COVID. I don't see how this team gets beat. A lot of other teams made a lot of moves to try to reach the Dodgers, and the Dodgers just said, we only need this one guy, and we're just going to beat all of you.
Well, actually, they added Justin Turner also. They kept him.
Oh, yeah.
Which is big.
That's true.
Yeah. But their big acquisition.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those guys were just retaining, but their big acquisition this offseason was obviously Trevor Bauer.
Well, yeah, the Dodgers, I agree with you 100% on that, but a team that made some moves on the outskirts that made themselves so much better, and they're young and they're hungry, is Toronto. Toronto has made themselves to me, the top team in the American League with the additions. They got guys like Simeon from Oakland, which he's one of the top notch shortstops, and they just made themselves so much better that I think that with the young nucleus that they already have, and it's funny because their young team is made up of major league players, kids.
Yeah.
The
next generation.
Yeah. And I think that this is going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat for a very long time.
Yeah, I think they definitely made some good moves. I don't know about calling them the best team in the AL quite yet. Obviously, it could turn out that way, depending on how these guys continue to grow and improve. Like you said, they're really young, so they are still improving. I think the best offseason were the Padres. I find it hard to argue against that because they improved their pitching. And they re-signed Tatis.
Oh, yeah.
They locked up Tatis. They were already probably the most exciting team in baseball last year. I know excitement doesn't necessarily win games, blah, blah. But now they have a rock-solid rotation. I don't think they're better than the Dodgers. I totally understand that. And they're in the same division. But they made leaps and bounds to be on the Dodgers' heels, and the Dodgers are one of the best teams in history. So the fact that San Diego is going all in, I'm for that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You like to see a team like that who doesn't have a long history of success make this type of leap. But my team this offseason, I'm going to go with our Mets. Our Mets, they added one of the top shortstops in the league, if not the best, after a slow season last year. But I think this year he's going to put himself up there again. They added some more pitching. I mean, Carrasco and bringing back Stroman, it's going to go a long way.
And Walker.
Walker
now.
We just added Walker. Yeah, that's a big addition as a fifth starter. We added depth, a lot of depth, and just Cohen just having the ability to spend. He was there until the last second with Bauer, which means that we still have that ability to go over the luxury tax to bring people in that are going to put this team over the hump. And I just think that helps us in, in-season trades and adding whatever needs to be added with injuries and whatnot. And I just think the Mets had a fantastic offseason. They avoided certain players who I thought they would overspend for. And they got better options, I think, in the long run.
I don't think they're done either.
No, I don't think so either.
I think there's going to be a trade.
I think they're still looking at third base.
Yeah.
So I could see something happening there. I would love Chapman from Oakland.
Yeah, Matt Chapman.
Yeah, I've been advocating for that all off season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because I don't know, Oakland, like you were talking about, Simeon is gone. He's in Toronto now. They added some pitching, but who really knows how far they're going to go? That division definitely got worse. The Astros didn't get any better, and there's not really a whole lot of competition there, so they might be fighting for that division.
Yeah,
but
with them adding that closer, or who was it, Rosenthal?
Yeah, they added Trevor Rosenthal. Yeah. They also added Sergio Romo.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see how competitive they are, and if they are willing to sell, maybe they would take a flyer and be willing to give up someone like Matt Chapman for a certain price.
Well, the thing with Chapman is I think it was his first year of arbitration. He's making close to $7 million now, and that's a little expensive for the A's. Moving forward.
Yeah.
So they may have to start looking into moving him for some cheaper controllable assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that, I think a lot is on the line with, some teams are spending so much, and then some teams are not spending at all. That I think in the next CBA we need a salary floor in baseball. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. You have certain players on certain teams that are making more than teams.
Yes.
So it's
something needs to be restructured.
It needs to be balanced out better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then for losers of the offseason, I know we all had different teams for winners, but I'm hoping we can come in an agreement.
Yeah,
it's the Rockies.
Yeah.
How do you trade your best player and $50 million?
$50 million.
How do you give $50 million to get rid of your best player? It's insane.
Yeah, it is.
And then they didn't even get one of their top 3 prospects back. Yeah. I think the top prospect they got back was like 7 or 8 in there. Like, what?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Trevor Story is on his way out soon as well.
Yeah, we'll see soon.
That's what it's looking like.
Now, with all this sports talk, something that we don't really know too much about, so we're actually going to phone a friend. So we're going to talk about some sports betting here for the halftime segment. Frank, you're on?
Frank?
Yes, I'm here, guys.
All right, Frank, let us know. First, introduce yourself to all our listeners, and then let us know about some sports betting.
My name is Frank. My Instagram handle is Dime.Sports.Picks. What we do is we offer a free service of unit wager betting. Basically, there's a lot of sports cappers out there that will charge you and guarantee you to be 80 to 90% winnings, which is basically impossible. Anything in sports wagering and sports handicapping, you're looking at between 62 and 67% is realistic. And as far as the industry with sports betting, I mean, I'm sure you guys see the rapid inclusion into the daily media coverage and basically all the network partnerships. They're using leading brands like DraftKings and FanDuel to make it visible for, the public to see what the point spreads are, discussing game totals, right there on the sports broadcast.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sponsorship deals lately, too, with leagues relaxing some of those rules.
In years past, the sports betting and sports wagering was kind of frowned upon. And now they seen a whole wide area where, they can generate more revenue for every sport across the country.
Absolutely. It's definitely comes down to, the leagues wanted to make sure they got a cut before they started promoting it, and they figured out how to get their cut. So now it's everywhere. One of the best ones I seen is the changing odds live on Fox Sports on their app. Like, you see one team score a bucket and the odds change.
Wow!
Right there, live in front of you. It's pretty insane. So Frank, what do you use to track your games?
Well, I use to track the games. I use most commonly is FanDuel or sometimes DraftKings. Well, the service that I offer is it's a unit wagering. What that is we'll tell you 1 or 2 games to play for the day, and try to make you a profit weekly or monthly. That's the service I offer. There's a lot of other of my competition. What they do is they'll charge you. Ours is a free service. We do not charge $1.
Frank, do you guys do in-game betting? Like, as the game is in progress, do you guys allow bets to come in as the game is going on?
Correct. We also do in-game betting, which is it's kind of tough. You'll have to have direct access to us through use direct messaging, and we can give you the plays right there through the in-game betting. Sometimes you'll get better odds to wait for the game to actually start. I mean, we were just watching now. We were just watching the Michigan-Ohio State college basketball game going on, and that game has a lot of attention to it as they didn't get to play in football. So, they want to see these teams play, these colleges play against each other. It's a big rivalry. And as the game went off, the odds were Michigan as the favorite. And then during the game, you could have caught Michigan as an underdog, where the value is there for that. That's just an example of one of the games of live betting, as you guys asked.
So right now, in, let's say, Major League Baseball, NCAA, and the NBA, what are the biggest odds right now?
The best value, we'll start in the NBA. The best value out there in the NBA that we're looking at, our service is giving out now 2 teams, one from each conference. You have live odds on odds to win the championship. Decent odds right there right now. You have the Milwaukee Bucks. They are plus 800. Okay. They are not one of the favorites. That is pretty much 8-1 on your money. And this year we feel that the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA, they're going in with less pressure. They don't have enough, attention as far as the media looking at them. They're playing bad, and that's when you get the best value. So in the NBA, we're looking at the Bucks.
Okay.
That's a good call because everyone's talking about the Nets right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's true, especially in the East.
Yeah, and also the Milwaukee Bucks, we're looking at it from our point of view that they took their lumps. They didn't make it to the conference finals, but they've been knocked out a couple of times where they were the favorite, and they kind of know what it feels like to lose, which I think actually makes you stronger, especially in the NBA. You have to take your lumps.
Okay. Yeah. And how about Major League Baseball?
As far as Major League Baseball, the odds out that are coming out now, it looks like all the teams from last year, it flipped. The teams that didn't make the playoffs are the ones that are considered the favorites. I mean, besides the Dodgers, that's the favorite. They're at 3-1. We don't like to play favorites because there's no value in your dollar. You're not receiving what you should get back. It's like playing the chalk. So basically this year, they put the White Sox at plus 850, which is 8.5-1. There's a lot of value out there with the New York Mets. I mean, everybody has their eye on the Yankees at 4-1. The New York Mets are at 9-1. And I know it's a hometown team for us guys being from New York, but there is value with the Mets at 9-1.
If they stay healthy, that lineup and, the back end of the rotation looks stronger, and Syndergaard coming back, he's already throwing, long tossing, some off the mound stuff.
And
could be worth it.
Even the White Sox too, because the American League is pretty wide open right now. And
very true.
I think right now they're favorites for that division, and they have the bats, and they bolstered up their pitching a little bit, so they could definitely have a puncher's chance.
So when you get odds like this, like the Mets 9-1, you would recommend for someone to jump on it now rather than later, right? Because the odds, during the season, of course, the odds are going to change. So.
Yes, those odds are going to fluctuate. I mean, before the Mets actually signed Lindor, when they received Lindor, they were actually 24-1. And now they're coming up. As you said, they will fluctuate. If the Mets come out of the gate, in the first place, they're going to go down to 3, 4, 5-1. So you have to take the value now. Same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks, as we spoke about the NBA. If they start winning, their odds are going to go down.
Okay, so now let's jump to the NCAA. And give us who you recommend to bet.
Well, the NCAA this year, it's wide open this year. I mean, there's 2 major favorites. You have Gonzaga, which has made it to the finals once. And, they're pretty much, they get the automatic bid out of their conference every year. Yep. And then you have a team in Baylor that really, never even made the Final Four in years. So that's where the favorites are. But you have a lot of teams coming out of the Big 12 along with Baylor that you have good odds on. Because this year, you're probably not going to have three of the big blue bloods in it, which is Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State. For those three teams not to be in it, you're not going to, you're going to see a difference, a wide open tournament this year. So the value this year, I would say take someone out of the Big 12 or the Big 10. And, you have Michigan, who's playing now, who I said is playing Ohio State. Them and Ohio State are both at 7-1. Those are, decent odds. In the college basketball, you have to wait to see when the seeding comes out. Because when the seeding comes out, I don't want to give any predictions right now until the seeds come out, because then you know who they got to go through in the bracket.
Those matchups mean so much.
Yeah, because I was watching the Auburn LSU game, and LSU looks like a surprising team this year.
Well, yeah, LSU this year is a surprising team. They actually have a candidate for the Naismith. It's Cam Johnson. He's averaging over 25 points a game.
Right.
Well, listen, thank you so much for your input. Again, mention your website.
Yes, it's Dime.Sports.Picks on Instagram. And I appreciate you guys having me on. And if you ever guys want to talk again, I'm always available. And basically, like I said, the sports betting industry is coming up. And I love to be on your guys' show. I watch it all the time, every 2 weeks. You guys are doing a great job. And you talk about subjects that basically need to be spoke about. And I love the honesty, and you guys are very genuine when you talk about sports, and that's what I like. And you got to be honest and genuine. Like I said, it's Dime.Sports.Picks on Instagram. It's a free service, and I appreciate you guys letting me on the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up halftime with have you ever bet on sports?
I have. I went to Vegas and I actually put some money down on my favorite teams. They were total long shots. I didn't have a chance in hell, but that's what makes it exciting, I guess. You throw a few bucks on a total long shot. If you win, you made a fortune. If you lose, you expected to lose.
Yeah.
That's at least that's how I bet it. Other than that, I've never done FanDuel or anything like that. Have you guys?
Yeah, I do FanDuel, but I don't do big money. I'll do basketball games, football. I win a couple of bucks here. The most I think I won in FanDuel was like $500. But I have a friend who bet on the Rams the year that Kurt Warner took over.
Oh, boy.
So their odds were like astronomical.
Wow.
And he bet on them that year. Warner,
they had a grocery boy as their quarterback.
Yeah.
and they won the Super Bowl, and he went to Vegas to pick up his money, and they catered him like crazy.
Oh yeah.
They gave him a free room. Free dinner.
Well, they want you to
tickets a
gamble some of that
show.
back.
Exactly. But
Stay for a couple nights.
but as far as me, I never won big money like that. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I know sometimes I help you with your lineups.
Yeah.
But I've never really been like interested in gambling. Like,
well, you also been 18 for like 3 weeks.
well, yeah, not that I had the choice for a while, but I've never just hearing about it, I've never been like too interested in it. But I think it is a good hobby if you have some self-control and
Well, that's the key.
As long as you're doing it responsibly and you're taking care of yourself, I think it's a great thing to do occasionally.
I'd like to add one thing on betting. Did you guys hear about the streaker during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Did you know that he placed a bet on
If there would be a streaker.
that there would be a streaker? Yeah. So a friend of his actually distracted the guards while he ran.
That was
onto
his
the field.
bail money?
Well, he paid $1,000 bail, but he won $375,000 on the bet.
Oh
So-
my gosh!
So I think it was worth it.
Winning.
Wow.
But that's not I don't know. Florida. I don't know the crimes. But I know in some states they like up that penalty where you can like get serious jail time and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In certain states. So
But Florida's Florida.
yeah, Florida will Florida. So
That's not even top 10 craziest story of the day for Florida.
Well, he'll probably even get more money if he sells that thong he wore.
That too.
autograph it.
He did have the best run of the night, though, I got to say.
Oh man, I haven't really done sports betting. I've worked in the industry a lot, so that's sometimes frowned upon depending on your employer. But I have seen a lot more sponsorships, and going back to what Frank was saying, it's being talked about a lot more on broadcast, and even when you can go to a game live, you're starting to see a lot more of those sponsorship deals, and I think that was very important for the industry to make sure they got their cut.
Oh yeah.
They needed to make sure DraftKings, FanDuel, there was a lot of legal, state to state, and
you grease the right palms and you get things done.
So is that why Pete Rose got banned, because they didn't get their cut?
Yeah, probably. He needs to pay off the Hall of Fame. All right. So again, look into Frank. Thank you again, Frank, for supporting us. We appreciate it, and we look forward to having you on. And now that we are all a little informed, we might be hitting you up ourselves.
Oh yeah.
And moving on to buckets and basketball here. Will anyone save Bradley Beal? I feel bad for this guy.
Well, I will say that the Wizards, I think, won 4 in a row now.
Yeah.
And Beal and Russ actually look like they're starting to become a little more comfortable with each other. I mean, they're still not a playoff team. They're still not a good team. But maybe he's a little happier in his situation now. But I do hope someone steps up and trades for him and gets him out of there. I'd love for the Knicks to get him. I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm a Bulls fan, obviously. But I would like to see the Knicks actually have a bona fide star to go along with the young core that they have going on. I mean, provided that they don't trade away too much of that core to get Beal.
Yeah, I feel like the big issue with this whole Bradley Beal scenario is that Bradley Beal has stated on numerous occasions that he wants to stay in Washington. So that's where the dilemma comes in. I feel like, in a way, this is very similar to the Deshaun Watson scenario in Houston. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's a big difference. Deshaun wants out, and Bradley Beal has said that he doesn't want out. But from a fan's perspective, at least, it seems like they're both in scenarios where they're just not winning, and they need to win soon, or else it's not going to end well. So I wish Beal the best. He said that he doesn't want to get traded, so I hope he gets what he wants. And I know that he wants to win above all else. That's the player that he's proven he wants to be. And, he's not perfect. He's going to keep getting better as a player. But, he's a great pickup for anyone who can get him. And, as long as teams like maybe the Knicks or another young team with some money to spend is willing to take a shot and give up some assets, I think it would be a great pickup. But I don't see him moving anytime soon.
I mean, the guy is lights out, scoring guard. And there's a lot of teams out there that could use him. But at the same time, in order to get him, you're going to have to give up assets. And if you got to give up some of your team in order to get him, then how good are you going to be?
And the price tag may have went up.
Yeah.
Since he's an all-star starter now.
Right. So if you're giving up draft picks, future draft picks, and maybe one player or two players, yeah, I can see that happening. But if you got to give up, value for value, it's it's not going to happen.
It's something you may see more in the off season rather than during the season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Jay pointed it out. Bradley Beal, first time being an all-star starter, third selection. So let's talk about the all-stars real quick here. For the East, you got Giannis, you got Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Joel MVP Embiid, and then somehow, some way, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I don't know about the Kyrie.
Yeah, fans. The fans are drunk.
I could have won with Harden there in that spot. Than Kyrie. I
could have won with Zach LaVine in that spot.
That's true too.
My pick for that last guard spot in the East was James Harden. It's crazy because I remember when the James Harden trade first went down, we were all kind of talking and speculating how these guys were going to coexist. And then just recently, Kyrie basically said, I'm a 2 guard, and I want Harden to run the show. I want Harden to lead the league in assists, which he's doing. And Harden has been willing to sacrifice more than I think most people thought, myself included. He's leading the league in assists. He's still scoring like 24 or 25 points a game. His efficiency is way up. His usage rate is down. That's part of why. But, I mean, if he's going to be the point guard and Kyrie can just take his shots and KD can be KD, I think that's definitely a good move because he's taking off some of that load for Brooklyn. But I definitely think that James Harden and especially Jaylen Brown as well, I think both of those guys were definitely more deserving for this starting all-star spot than Kyrie Irving. And not to say that Kyrie shouldn't be an all-star. It's debatable. He hasn't played a full half the season. A lot of his absence was due to that. But, he's Kyrie Irving. The fans love him, and he's going to get that recognition. So we'll see how the reserves go because that should be very interesting. There's a lot of guys and not enough spots, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's every year.
Yeah.
Every year you have snubs that, you think were locks that didn't make it because you only have a limited amount of spots.
Actually, I have this in front of me here. It's very interesting how the vote went down. Kyrie was voted second for Eastern Conference guards by the fans, also ranked second by the players.
Wow.
But then fourth by the media.
Well,
yeah.
I can get that. There was a little stretch where he didn't even want to talk to the media. So
yeah,
it's understandable.
But it also seems like we mostly agree with the media than the fans.
Well,
I mean, we're kind of fan/media now, but but it's really interesting to see that. And Harden finished in third, and LaVine finished in fourth for the backcourt.
So was he second on round Earth or flat Earth?
Definitely flat Earth if you're talking Kyrie. So anything else about the Eastern Conference starters before we move to the West?
No, I think everything else was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Embiid having an MVP type season. Kevin Durant looks like Kevin Durant even after the injury. Bradley Beal, just someone save him.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for Zach LaVine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He needs to make. He's going to make the team. He has to.
I would like for him to make it. I would like for Julius Randle also to make it.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, now heading out west, the starters. This is just ridiculous.
Just scary.
You got Chef Curry, you got Luka, you got LeBron, you got Joker, and you got the Claw in Kawhi.
Can we just name them the Monstars?
Like, yeah, the Monstars, Avengers, like.
Yeah, it's pretty.
They got all the
League,
Infinity Stones.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
definitely.
I'm glad this is a draft because
that's true.
these two teams by themselves are extremely lethal, and like I like seeing it getting mixed up a bit.
Well, in the past, I did like that because of the unbalanced, like top
East
heavy
West,
West compared to the East. But I think it's the gap has been like shortened between both conferences. And
the East is still very top heavy, but they have more stars now than they did before.
But what I'm afraid of is it seems to be a little more balanced right now. But I think doing a draft like they've done in the past could kind of throw that off a little because I've seen it in past All-Star drafts where LeBron's team looked like hands and feet better than the other. I mean, the other squad.
He is the best player GM now.
You have a point there.
I feel like that's also in part like I remember one year for the draft when it was LeBron and Giannis as the captains.
Yeah.
And Giannis is going to pick his guys. He's going to pick the foreign guys.
Yeah. He also picked.
He always picked Chris Middleton as the first guy off the bench. Mm-hmm. So I feel like just. Do you want to draft to win or do you want to draft to play with the guys you want to play with? I mean, it's an all-star game. You want to have fun and you want it to be enjoyable. So,
no, I get that.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, a lot of guys draft not to hurt other guys' feelings.
Yeah,
you play with them, so you want them, to feel like they want it and everything. But, it's funny because when you look at the West, there was in the beginning of the season, Chef Curry started off a little slow, and people were saying he's old, he's washed up, and then all of a sudden, he hits you with a 50-piece, and
he knocked that rust off.
Yeah, and then he's up in one of the top voters in the West, but that West team, oh my goodness, I mean, how do you stop that West team? I mean, if that was the actual team itself, I mean, there's no way you can stop that team. No way. No. They got it all. They got outside, inside, defense. I mean, everything.
Yeah, everything.
Now, the one thing in the West that was very borderline is Luka or Dame.
Yeah.
Now, I want to have this conversation quick, but I'm going to give you the rundown from the voting. So, the fan vote, Luka was second, Dame was third. The player vote, Dame was second, Luka was third. And the media vote, Dame was second, Luka was third. But the fans outweigh the players and the media for the starters. So that's why Luka got the edge.
He got the edge.
So the way I feel about this is like they're both great. Yeah. It's really hard to pick between two guys with that much talent. If you look at just the stats, Luka seems to be having a better year on paper. But Dallas has been struggling very mightily this year, and Portland, they've had a lot of injuries to CJ and to Nurkic, but they've been able to overcome that to an extent and play together, and they've been on a pretty good streak as of late. I think I personally would have given the edge to Dame. Luka Doncic is my favorite player in the league right now, but Dame is just something else, man. Like when he gets going, you can't stop him. And just the way he's been carrying that team with so many injuries, I think that would put him over the edge. And I don't try to be one who thinks that like your team should be heavily impactful on your all-star selection, because at the end of the day, it's an individual award, and only that one player or whoever it is getting picked for the All-Star game. But I think Luka actually talked about it the other day in a press conference, and I think he said it best. Is he said himself that he thinks Dame probably deserved to start over him, which is super humble, and it's really hard to hate on a guy like that. But he also said that in a couple years, in like 2 or 3 years, like no one is gonna remember who started the All-Star game, whether it was him or Dame. People are just gonna know about who was in the All-Star game, and they're both definitely gonna be All-Stars, and it's just gonna be a really fun game, regardless of who's there for the opening tip.
I think that's a great point. You always hear 5-time All-Star, 10-time All-Star. It doesn't say how many times they started.
Yeah.
It's how many times you made it to the actual game. So that makes sense. I like that point.
Yeah, I just think that something like this might make Dame come out in the game and just go off.
Very true.
MVP.
Yeah.
What's the odds on that? Get Frank back on the
phone. Dame is that type of player. Dame is the type that, he looks for any little thing to give him that incentive to go out there and prove everybody wrong. Yeah. You voted me. You voted him over me. Let me show why I should have been the one.
A nice chip on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah, always.
Into that game.
Yeah.
I think the game, his game translates well for the All-Star game, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they all do because they're all-stars. But
right.
Just Dame's outside shooting and just,
pulling up for 30, 35, 40, 45, 50.
I mean, he is a microwave. When he gets hot, it's just forget it. You have to start D'ing him on the other side of the court.
The other day, I forgot what game it was, but someone hit like a half-court shot or something, and the announcers for the game, they said, "Oh, that was from Dame range, and not Steph range." And I was taken aback for a second. I was like, "Yo, Dame really made it now." Like he's up there with Steph. Like obviously Steph is the better player, but
better shooter,
and the better shooter. But they both have that type of range, and it's just crazy. Like Dame is really earning like ridiculous amounts of respect. In his
that was JR's favorite player that hit that shot, the Bulls rookie.
Oh yeah,
Pat Will.
Pat Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love his nickname too. his nickname is Paul.
Oh, because the
Because
claw.
like Kawhi's the claw, and he keeps getting
He's the
Kawhi
ball.
comparisons.
Yeah.
And his
That's
initials,
good. I like it.
he's Patrick, so P.A. and Williams, W, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. I like it.
So
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the All-Star game. You know, we weren't sure the impact of,
Well,
you know, we were going to have one, not going to have one.
Yeah,
and
for
then,
a while, we weren't gonna have
yeah.
one.
And then LeBron came out. And
LeBron's
then,
not too happy about us having an All Star game.
And then as soon as LeBron said it, you know, Giannis was like, whatever LeBron says, he's the king. Like, LeBron says he don't want it, then I don't want it.
But didn't it change this year? How they gonna do it?
Well, everything's
yeah,
gonna be on the
everything's
same
happening
day.
the same
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
They're gonna do the dunk contest during halftime.
Yep.
And
I
the
believe-
3-point contest pregame.
Yeah,
I think.
pregame. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
We'll see.
interesting format. Obviously, you know, have to adjust with everything this
Yeah.
year with COVID. But yeah, hopefully it's a good game.
Yeah,
and
but the
everyone
All
gets
Star
voted
game,
in.
the All Star game itself though is still the Elam ending.
Oh yeah.
So and it's still going to be the 24-point increase to honor Kobe,
Okay.
like they did in the
Okay.
last All Star game.
That's nice.
So a lot of respect for the NBA for
Oh yeah.
showing love to Kobe, and it should be entertaining because the ending of that last All Star game was super
It's like
intense.
the
It was really good last year.
It was really
yeah.
good.
it's like the tournament.
Yeah.
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 All right, now to our personal favorite segment, garbage time.
Yes.
Who wants to start off with garbage time?
I'll start it.
All right, let's go.
So my question this week is, what can we do? What can anybody do to make the WNBA more appealing?
I have an idea. I know it's something that's been said a ton of times, but shortening the hoop, bringing it lower. I mean, right now, what the WNBA lacks that the NBA has is dunking and, you know, that excitement.
Right.
I think if you shorten the hoop and allow more players to be able to dunk, or at least, you know, do exciting layups and stuff like that, I think it'll appeal to the fan base a lot more. Now, I know the argument against that is that they've been playing for so many years with the regulation hoops. But I mean, the same could have been said about the basketball itself. They played with the same basketball for so long until I believe it was 2004 when it became like global that they had a size 6
Right.
instead of a size 7 now. They adjusted to that. And I think lowering the hoop, they will eventually adjust to that also. And it's not like there's an unfair advantage. Everyone would be playing on the same hoop size. So
Yeah.
I think that will go a long way.
I find that very interesting. You know, same arguments back and forth. They've been playing it for a while. They don't want it to seem too big of a difference between, you know, WNBA and NBA. I think they need to work on partnership side of TV deals. They need to get this in front of more fans because, you know, yes, it might not be as exciting because of the dunks, you know, the lack of dunks and everything, but it's probably more fundamentally sound basketball than the NBA. So I think getting it in front of a bigger audience is something that you need to do. And, you know, obviously they've been trying to do this. It's no knock on anyone. I just think, you know, trying to get national TV games, possibly even thinking outside the box, getting deals with, you know, streaming services.
Yeah.
You know, getting on YouTube TV and, you know, so you can be on the YouTube front page and, you know, millions of people are going to YouTube to watch something else and stumble upon it. You know, Twitch, which is big with live streaming. You know, I think they have to think outside the box to try to get it more in front of more eyes, and that's going to bring money, and that's going to bring, you know, the viewership, and everything will snowball from there.
Yeah, I definitely think like a combination of what you guys said would be like the perfect remedy. Like you might have to change some things about the actual game, or, you know, like that might end up being like lowering the rim or something like that. But I feel like no matter what you change with the WNBA, it won't get properly recognized without the adequate exposure.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like venturing out to other media outlets would be the best way to go, because it frees you from as much competition as the NBA because the NBA is more nationally televised. But if you put it on a free service, maybe like YouTube or Twitch or something like that, it might become more of a premium. And then eventually you could start charging for certain games, or, you know, you could figure out all the logistics from there. But just the general premise of having your own platform where you don't have as much competition, and you can get your image and your brand across would be a great thing for the WNBA to do. And I feel like getting on other media outlets as much as possible and just showing themselves to more people is the best way to go about that.
Yeah, like the NFL did the Nickelodeon game.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
outside the box. I think
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Well, for me, I mean, you guys just spit out some great ideas for the WNBA, but what I would add to that is I think they have to go more international. I think that in order to make their product more appealing, is you gotta include all different nationalities, all races. I mean, if you get a international league, make it the World Women's Basketball League.
That is untapped. Too.
Yeah.
That's you don't see too many female sports leagues. I mean,
a lot of
basketball-wise.
WNBA players play overseas in their
Yeah,
off
right.
season
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
because of money problems.
Right? Yeah,
So
they do.
Maybe tying that,
Right.
in could be an interesting idea.
And maybe because of, you don't want to have to, let's say, take a trip to China to play a game and then fly somewhere else. Maybe you break it down into divisions. Okay, you make the European division, you make the American division, you make, different divisions where the winners of those get to play against each other, and they'll have games out in the United States, they'll have games out in China, in Europe, and everything. And this way, what it is you exposing them to more viewers, you expose them to more people,
eyes,
and you getting the best of the best, because everybody always thinks that America has the best, which, we grew up here, we think, but you
Americans
have
think
a
that.
lot of good players in other parts of the country. And I would like to see that. I would like to see, Europe's best against the United States best, China's best, and you got some excellent ball players out there. We just got to expose them.
Yeah,
and I think
that's-
that league needs
That's
it.
true.
That's even been proven in the NBA. Like, there's so much, especially recently, there's so much international talent in the NBA, and MVPs and All-Stars and just all NBA caliber players who are just coming from all around the world. So I think that worldwide exposure would definitely be a good look for the WNBA as well.
And then you'd actually have a true world champion too.
Yeah.
We call them world champions, but really, they're just North American champions.
All right. Jay, why don't you go next?
All right. So I'd like you guys to name the most memorable player to you of any sport that has not lived up to their hype or potential.
I'll start this one.
Okay.
There's a couple guys that come off the top of my head, but number one for me is Darko Milicic.
That's a good one.
So obviously LeBron goes number one,
Yeah.
then Darko goes number two, and Melo goes number three.
So you also have other Hall of Fame caliber
Yeah.
players in that draft.
Bosh going 4,
Bosh,
Wade
yeah,
going
Wade,
5.
Yeah. But like Darko was a 7-footer that was supposed to be able to rebound, also shoot, and didn't turn out to be nearly as good as a player as everyone hyped him up to be. Although, come see me in that old school 2K.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was cheesing with him. 7-footer knocking down threes. I actually, in one of our leagues, I had him and Yao.
Oh
It
my
was-
God.
That's game over.
Yeah.
Everyone on the court could shoot. It was game over. But, unfortunately for him, he was only good in video games.
My pick, and there's plenty to choose from, but because at one time there was a whole draft that all the players were bust. But my pick would be Greg Oden.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
You get a guy that was hyped, and I mean hyped, and drafted a number one, and the guy lasted how long?
It's hard for me to put him in that category because it was due to injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I agree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's
right.
just hard for me personally
Right, right.
because I still think he had that talent.
Yeah, but when you see guys like Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge and guys like that go after him, it's tough to really tough to see.
well, you could actually put Portland, Portland in that category because
They did it twice.
Yeah, they did it twice. You know, I mean, you could have had Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And you could have had Kevin Durant. Oops. But
Jay-
yeah, Greg Oden.
Jay, who's your pick?
I'm gonna go a different route. This might be cheating a little, but
It's your question. How do you cheat your own question?
listen, I had a little longer than you guys to think about this, but so my player is a little bit of a different situation. It wasn't injury. This player actually passed away. Brian Cole from the Mets, a great outfielder, passed away at the age of 22 from a car accident. But if you read stories about this guy, anyone who played with him, played against him, they said that he was probably the best baseball player they've ever seen play. So, I think it's sad that he never got a chance to showcase this in the actual big show. But I mean, the stories from him are unreal. To me, he's the most memorable, probably because it's my team, the Mets. So, but he had some kind of talent, that kid.
Yeah. And if we're going that route, Jay, I'll do you one better, and I'll go with Len Bias.
There you go.
Second overall pick by the Celtics. Great talent in college, and he passed away before he could ever step on an NBA court. It's very unfortunate, but there were comparisons with him and Jordan in college.
Yeah.
Just super competitive, great size, athleticism, agility. He ran the floor. He just had it all. He could shoot. He was really just an all-around great player, and he had all the potential in the world to be great. And on a Celtics team that was already loaded during that time, just adding him would have been insane. And you always wonder what would have happened. Definitely. If he would have played, and how that would have changed the history of the NBA and just all of sports, really.
You know how good this guy was? He was so good that Boston was willing to move Larry Bird to the shooting guard position and put Bias at the small forward. Wow. This is how good he was.
Just unreal talent.
And I went to that draft, and I seen him when he was leaving with his Celtic hat and his Celtic bag, and he walked right by me, and that was the last time I seen him.
Wow. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Rob, who actually gave me that question to use. It's a great question, great thing to look into.
Yeah,
ton of players to look to use for that.
There's so many
sports.
There's so many players. Yeah,
all sports.
All right, I'll go with my question next. Which sport has the best championship game or series?
I'll go with NFL. I like the fact that it's one game. So it's like you got to really leave it out on the field. It's not a series, so there's more riding on every single play, and it's just what's bigger than the Super Bowl.
I get that for ratings and stuff, but you could also have one bad game. Are you the better team?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You can have a bad game, and it could cost you huge. So that's why I think to me it's a little more exciting because there's more importance on everything that's happening in that game.
I'm torn on this question between baseball and the NCAA basketball. NCAA basketball is crazy because you got to go through,
a tournament.
A tournament. So you got to win game after game after game against schools that you never played before.
The craziest part of the NCAA is you win your game, and you might not know who you're playing.
Yeah.
And you only have a couple days to game plan for that team.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's a Cinderella team, you might not know anything about them, really.
So, that is, to me, it's phenomenal for you to, make it through the whole bracket and win the chip at the end. Because you could be the number 1 seed and lose to a number 12 seed.
It's harder to game plan. I think.
That, but after watching the 86 World Series and watching the way the Mets won that game and the ball going through Buckner's legs and stuff like that and the excitement that it brought, oh my God. I mean, I could rewatch it 100 times. And baseball,
I have.
Yeah.
Rewatched it 100 times.
We went to a playoff game where Syndergaard pitched against the Cubs, and it was like, I mean, I left without no voice. I mean, it's so I'm torn between the two.
Okay.
So you're not going to pick?
No, I'm not going to pick.
And I thought I cheated.
Go ahead, Sid.
I'm also torn, but I will make a decision.
Okay, yeah.
I'm also torn, but for me, it's NCAA and NBA because there's parts I like about NCAA basketball, and there's parts that I like about the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals. I think I personally do like the aspect of a series just because sometimes teams can have one bad game and it's a fluke, or sometimes there's like injuries that a player might not be able to play game 1 and game 2, but they could play the rest of the series, and that just changes the whole atmosphere and the momentum. And there's just a lot of things that can change, and you have to be consistent if you want to win. You have to really earn that win. You can't just get lucky one night. But at the same time, I love the intensity of NCAA, how you're always on your heels and you have to be perfect, and one little mistake can cost you everything. And it's just really it's really cool to see how teams prepare, and like you guys were saying, you usually don't know a lot about a team in NCAA, where the NBA, you played this team multiple times already, the players that they have, and what their game plan is, and it's easier to strategize. If I had to choose one though, I'd probably go NBA, just because of the talent level and just the series aspect. I think I do like series overall more than just an individual game, because I like the strategy that goes into it, and I like how game plans change depending on the result of a game, and stuff like that. And even thinking back to the Warriors when they blew the 3-1 lead to the Cavs, if Draymond Green doesn't get suspended, whether he deserved it or not is a different story. But if he doesn't get suspended, the Warriors probably win that series, and that rewrites all of NBA history at that point. So you just never know what's going to happen game to game. So I think that's why I would go with the NBA.
Interesting. All good answers besides, the non-answer. I have two favorites, but I will make a decision.
That's nice.
It comes down to NCAA, March Madness, and baseball for me.
Okay.
But what edges out baseball as my pick is because although sometimes not every game is the most exciting, it's the only sport where you always have a chance. There's no time limit. And in a series, you might concede a game almost to save the bullpen, and that strategy that goes into a series. And it's such a team sport when it comes to especially the playoffs. It's such a team sport because, all right, we make, this pitcher gave up some runs, or, we have a big lead, so I'm going to pull this pitcher so he can come back on early rest and pitch again. That strategy and all that thought process that goes into that series in baseball is what edges it out for me, although March Madness is a thing of beauty when it comes to not knowing who you're going to play, the short turnaround, and all that stuff. I think that's great, but baseball, there's so much strategy that goes into every single play in the World Series.
Well, the other thing about baseball and the reason why I like it so much is when you talk about strategy, you play different when you play in the American League Park than you do in the National League Park. So now you got to make a decision whether, who you use as the DH and whether you take your pitcher out if he's struggling or not. Where in the National League Park, your pitcher could be pitching a great game, but you down a run. Do you pinch hit for him and everything else? So,
There's also different strategies whether you're home or not. When you're home, you have the bottom half of the inning. So, changes a lot. When you bring your closer into the game, things like that.
Do you open the roof or not?
There's actually MLB rules about that. But that's a whole other thing. But and yes, there's a lot of strategy that goes into play calling and everything like that in the Super Bowl. But you're making decisions just for that one game.
Oh yeah, for the one game.
Where in baseball, that one decision can win you that game, but lose the next two for you.
Well, that's my reasoning behind picking football is that with a series, you figure the cream rises to the top in a series. Mm-hmm. In a one game playoff,
is do or die.
Do or die. Whoever comes to show that day, whoever has it, whoever doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Tim, take us home. Last question.
All right, so my garbage time question is about the Knicks. And I want to ask you guys if you think the Knicks, I won't say they won, but do you guys think the Knicks didn't necessarily lose the Kristaps Porzingis trade? And before you guys answer, I'll give a little context. So the Knicks traded Kristaps Porzingis to the Dallas Mavericks a couple years back, and in return they got 2 first-round draft picks and Dennis Smith Jr. So as we know, Dennis Smith Jr. is now gone. He was traded to Detroit in the Derrick Rose deal. But the first draft pick they got from Dallas was a pick last year that, through a couple of draft night trades, ended up being Emmanuel Quickley, who has proven to be one of the big steals of the draft, of the 2020 draft. And he's been playing really well in pretty limited minutes for the Knicks. And the other pick is Dallas's unprotected first-round pick this year. And as we all know, Dallas has been struggling pretty mightily this year. So that pick looks to be in the lottery as of right now. And also, the money that they saved by trading Kristaps Porzingis, because they would have had to re-sign him, they went out and spent that money on Julius Randle, who is an all-star candidate this year and is playing the best basketball of his life. So, I know a lot of people, when that trade first went down, thought the Knicks were getting fleeced and that Kristaps is by far the better player, and Dennis Smith Jr. was a guy they could have just drafted, but they ended up trading for him anyway. But now it's starting to look like it's a little more in the Knicks' favor. So I want to see what you guys have to say about it.
Well, in retrospect, when the trade first went down, I was like, wow, Porzingis, they getting an all-star caliber guy, and I was never sold on Dennis Smith. But when you look deeply into it, Porzingis is a guy that's injured every year. Every single year, this guy goes down, whether it's for a couple of months or half the season or whatever. This guy's always hurt. When you look at it now, and one of the draft picks is a lottery pick, and then they got Julius Randle and Quickley, I think you could, slightly edge it towards the Knicks. Not a lot, because when Porzingis is healthy, him and Doncic together, form a good team. But the Knicks hadn't made the playoffs in how many years now? Okay, right now they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
They're a playoff team, and a lot of it is because
especially with that play-in tournament now. Adding some extra playoff spots,
and a lot of it is because of the play of Randle. Randle bought into Thibodeau's system of playing defense, and Randle's a double machine every night. Quickly, has come into games, and this guy does not turn the ball over. What guard comes into a game and
Yeah.
You know, this guy, he rarely turns the ball over.
He's got confidence, a lot of confidence on the offensive end.
But then this is where, you know, when you draft guys from the blue blood teams, you know, like Kentucky and everything that, you know, they might have not, you know, shined in college, but they were 5-star players. And then, you know, you get them into the right system with the right coach, and you wind up getting a steal. So I give the slight edge to the Knicks right now.
Yeah, when the trade went down, obviously you see the biggest name going to Dallas, so you assume that Dallas won the trade. That's I don't think that's still the case. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from Dennis Smith Jr., but at least they got Derrick Rose for him, so you know that's another win. It remains to be seen what draft pick they actually do get in the offseason. You know, I can't see Dallas continuing to play this terrible for the rest of the season. So I don't think it's going to be
a lottery.
I think they still have a lottery pick. I just don't think it'll be what it stands at now, which is probably a top 5, maybe top 3 pick. I like Quickly. I like the fact that they did open up that cap room to sign Randall. At the time, that was not a win either, because that cap room was actually made to bring in a bigger name star, and they had to settle for Randall. But it's still, it may have ended up definitely swinging in their favor, getting Randall right before he hit this bump up to potentially being a star in the league.
Yeah.
So I think the Knicks, they didn't lose the trade. It remains to be seen if they won the trade, but they didn't lose.
Yeah, I think everyone brought up good responses and everything, but to me, the number one thing was KP was a cancer in the locker room, and he was, you know, bringing a lot of troubles in that regard, that just getting rid of him was almost addition by subtraction for the Knicks. So it's hard to say they were losing. There's some insider information from people I know, and he was really, really unhappy in that situation. Yeah. Like him and his brother was doing the heavy lifting on bad-mouthing people. I think, you know, he just needed to get out, and the Knicks got something in return, and that something is turning out to be better than what they even thought.
Well, so it looked like they traded him away for pennies on the dollar. It's turning out to not be that case, but at the time, you definitely see they were getting rid of him because of a reason. It's
always seems like that, but when you get draft picks, you never know until you cash in on those draft picks.
Yeah, well, them drafting him in the first place, was questionable.
Yeah,
as that little kid, that famous little kid.
I pretty much agree with what all you guys said. It was really interesting to me when I saw this question online, because it's really crazy to think about, because I know when I first saw this trade, I thought this was a no-brainer for Dallas. But, it's turned into a pretty nice return for the Knicks. And, there's still time to see what the draft pick ends up being. And, of course, as long as that pick is in the lottery, they have a chance of it being as high as it can possibly be, because, the lottery is...
Yeah, the new system.
The lottery is supposedly random, but... We all know how that goes. Yeah. But the Knicks seem to have gotten a great return. I know a lot of people don't know this, but 2 years ago, Julius Randle was in New Orleans for a year, and he was balling out too. He was averaging like 21 and 10 almost, and he was coming off the bench behind AD. Mm-hmm. So he's always had that potential to be great, and now he's in New York. He's running the show offensively, and he's even one of the better passing bigs in the league. He's averaging like 5 or 6 assists a game. Yeah. Of course, buying into Tibbs' system defensively, Quickly has been a star. I hope he gets to play a little bit more. But I know Tibbs is very strict on his rotations, especially if you're not playing defense. So, that we'll only see how that goes with time, and hopefully that draft pick is good for the Knicks, and hopefully Porzingis can stay healthy and Dallas can make a run at things. And I hope this trade is beneficial for both teams in the end because it seems a lot better than it did when it first happened.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you again, everyone, for listening and watching our podcast. We appreciate it. Big shout out again to Frank. Be sure to look him up. His links will be in the description below, and we'll see you again soon.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.